All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 6, our last day of the celebration of difference. I'm just grateful for all of you, and thank you for being here during these 6 days, whether you were live or catching things afterwards. It's been really cool to explore this. Really, one of my favorite topics is playing with this X-Men stuff. And it weaves into everything that we do, as I've mentioned, and you've probably gathered, like how you function in your life has so much to do with how much allowance you have of you and how willing you are to be different. And as we head into the new year, one of the things I would like to talk about today is our awareness of the future, because that's one thing that X-Men really have and usually don't realize that they have a massive awareness of the future. Oh, you're so welcome, Jackie. Thank you for being here. So X-Men, I mentioned on one of the videos that, X-Men have a lot of spherical awareness, which means that they don't have a lot of linearity. They don't do linearity very well. And there's a sense of past, present, and future occurring all simultaneously. And part of that is that it's like time doesn't exist, Time is just something that we've made up, and we've made it so solid that it seems so real that we live by it. But there's all these realities occurring simultaneously, energetically, all the time. We live in this. I mean, if you even start to kind of study the universe, there's an amazing series that Dane has recommended many times called How the Universe Works. And I've seen just a few of the shows. It's lots of different shows on different aspects of the universe, but you really start to see, like, we are a part of the universe. We're not separate from it, and we are one of the many planets, and it just so happens that we have life on this planet in a different way. But when you start to see how things work, and black holes and gases and, explosions and all these things, it's like, you just really get this real sense of awareness of, wow, we really think that what's going on planet Earth is just, so huge and mega and significant, but this is just like one planet in a vast universe of which we know very little, about which we know very little. Things are not as they seem. We have solidified things on this planet and in this reality with our minds. And How the Universe Works, Lisa, it's a series. It's I think it's like a PBS series of shows, like videos or whatever. And so time is this, it's a construct. And X-Men know that, like, they in some way have an awareness of that. And functioning from the linearity of time can be a very challenging thing for some X-Men, because it doesn't really make sense. And we don't even realize that. And so often what happens is you have this awareness of the future, and you have no idea that it's an awareness of the future. And part of why I want to talk about this is because we're, going into a new year, and that's hilarious because it's like, that's a construct of time. It doesn't really mean anything, but let's use it. Let's use that thing that everybody orients to as a possibility for something, like where we can actually use this reality to our advantage to create something different. And we have, so people who have this very dynamic awareness of future, it's not, it's really from the energy of it, the space of it. It's not from the details of it, but you may have like creations that come into your world that would be something really great to create in 5 years. A lot of us have had those types of conversations when it comes to business. It's like, is this idea in your business for now, or is it for later? And if it's for later, ask the creation to ping you when it's time to be created. And sometimes we need to ask those questions, because, and from the acknowledgement of, if I'm actually aware of a simultaneity of realities going on, past, present, and future, then it's good to ask, like, is this a now thing? You know, what is this? One of the greatest questions, the simplest questions that you really, if you function from it, will make your life so much easier. And very few people do, but we have these 4 questions to function from. What is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how? And what is this? Is this, it starts from this place of like not really knowing what something is, you know, of course. I mean, if you're really asking that as a question. And what's so cool about that is then you can get awareness of what something is. You can really go to the energy of it rather than the definition of it. Because if your starting point with anything is a conclusion, excuse me. If your starting point is a conclusion with anything, then you can't go very far with it, you know, because you're already locked into this reality that you've decided is true and fixed. And your capacity as an X-Men / humanoid, whatever you want to call yourself. I mean, don't call yourself anything, just call yourself an infinite being. But your capacity is to actually function energetically from an undefined space. And so, but we don't know, you know, like we've been talking about, we don't know how to do that. It's not something that we're taught in this reality. So we don't really have an orientation toward that. But if you're like, if everything that comes up, you're like, okay, so what is this? Before you start to go into something or follow a trail or work with something or choose something based on what you've defined it to be, you ask what it is, because it could be something different. Now or later? Is this for now or later? Is this awareness of past, present, or future? Oh, it's the awareness of the future. Okay, cool. So, and then you start to acknowledge it. And when you acknowledge that you're aware of something that is the future, you can engage with it in a really different way. And I know this has shown up for me, and I'm just going to use this business example again, because this is one of those places where it's very tangible, like to kind of describe how this plays out. But like, if I have an awareness of a creation in my business that I don't ask now or later, this is the thing that could be a great thing to do in 5 years, right? And I choose to do it now. It's not going to work. It's not going to really flow. It's not going to have a movement to it. Because it's not for now, it's for later, right? But if I acknowledge that, oh, this is how we use this really pragmatically, because there's all kinds of things that come into your awareness all the time that are not a now thing, that are a later thing, you know, or you have an awareness of a possibility. So I'm going to pause on what I was just about to say for a minute. But if you recognize that something is for the future, then you can nurture it with your awareness and just let it be, like, let it hang out and just talk to that creation and be like, hey, when it's time, go ahead and just ping me, you know, and let me know when it's time to create you and to actualize you. And I will, you know, and that's where, you know, we have this thing of an ideas book where you can write down ideas of, you know, and then you don't have to try to like hold them in your head. You go back to the ideas book at some point, look and go, oh, that would be a cool thing to do, you know? Now, the other piece that I wanted to say is this thing about an awareness of future possibility, because this is one of the places where in the context of the rest of the world, and I would say, like, for me, this is one of the things that I'm excited about with this whole construct of the new year is it's a time where people, you know, kind of start to play with that energy of newness, a new start, a fresh start. So you can use that kind of reality in the field around you to your advantage. And so many of us, like X-Men really are, as we say, like the evolution of the species. We have this knowing of future possibilities that is one of our greatest gifts to the world and to ourselves. but you've got to be present with it and actually like be like acknowledge that, you know. And one of the things that happens is that we have this sense of like there's this amazing future that's possible, and then we start to get kind of grumpy that it's not happening right now. But when that happens, then we sort of diminish what we can create with it, what we can be with it, and how we can actually use our awareness to bring that to fruition and pull it into the now energetically. Because we go to like a frustration or an upset or a sense of like, why isn't this happening? And we probably all had moments of that during this pandemic where we're like, oh my God, why is it still going on? You know, and I mean, you know, I think so many of us knew when it started, like this thing should just be quickie done, you know, move on. I had so many of my own knowings about like, well, if we just handled it like this, if we just like let people expose themselves and boost our immune system and, you know, like do energy work, like all these things that I know that work, you know, it's like, no, but this isn't going to be a thing at all, you know? But that's an awareness of the future. And so instead of making myself wrong and being like, well, obviously I don't know anything about this, you know, or being upset that the rest of the world isn't up to my speed and up to my awareness with how things are and all of that, then instead of getting frustrated and angry and upset about that, I can be like, I am sort of, and I'm going to say this, and it might sound a little significant, but I'm the holder of the future. Like we are as X-Men, the holder of the future. Like we have this awareness of the future that is such a gift and such a like there's so much that if you're willing to be present with that as the energy, space, and consciousness that you are, then you can see, like you begin to see yourself as the gift that you are that is totally beyond this reality. You begin to see yourself as the holder of the future, the creator of the future. And you begin to, and if you're like, okay, what I'm aware of as what I'm aware of as a possibility for how we could function on planet Earth with each other, with the planet, it may be something that could occur in 500 years or 1,000 years, you know? But it's relevant to me. It's very relevant to me because to me, I care way more about the Earth than I do about all of us. Sorry to say, but the Earth is way more important to me. You know, like we can come, we can go, whatever. We're infinite beings. We just have these bodies right now. We can come and get another body in another form or whatever. You know, we're not going, an infinite being can't actually die. Your body dies, you don't die. But I care about this planet and I actually do. I think it's really fun to be here, you know, and I would love to have it be even more fun, where there's less stupidity and hatred and abuse and all of that, invalidation. But it's like, for me, if I can choose my life, my living, my reality, my actions, what I do in my business, what I do with myself, how I be with myself, how I be with other people, how I be with the planet, all those things, if I can allow that sense of the 1,000-year future, the 10,000, the 100,000-year future of consciousness that I know, and it's really only something that you can know energetically. There's not a lot of words. But if I can be with that and weave that into everything that I choose now, weave that into everything that I do now, truly be so present as to know that I'm creating that. I am creating that. We are creating that. And to make that energetic awareness of the future, the thing that is the most intriguing to me, you know? And it's not about not having any regard for what's going on now, as we be that energetic awareness of the future and we be with it. We actualize it now. Because again, remember, there's no time, there's no past, present, and future, you know? So that's how we fold it into right now. And it may take some time to actualize as a reality on planet Earth, because there's a lot of points of view and perspectives that have to change in order for that to occur. But we're doing it, you know? And when you acknowledge that, like, that's the difference that you be, that's the gift that you be. And when you acknowledge that you are this holder of the future, this carrier of the energies of the future, and you have the gift and the possibility and the beauty of having those be alive in your world now. And it also is what makes you an X-Men. And it also is what makes it sometimes really difficult to be in this reality, because nobody else gives a fuck about that. Not nobody else, but a lot of people, most people in this reality don't give a fuck about that. I mean, look at what's going on in the planet right now. This whole world control and pandemic and pharmaceutical takeover of the world and bodies and blah, blah. None of these people give a fuck about the future. They don't have any sense of future. It's money and power as soon as they can have it, you know? And the thing is that we make that so significant and real because it's the dominant, you know, it's this sort of, it's not even dominant anymore. We are dominant now energetically, but it's the narrative in a lot of places that you go on the planet. But you know what? Like, that's a dying reality. And the more we be present with this sense of future and what we're creating, what we're actualizing, it's like that, the more we do actualize it right now, and the more that other reality dies. And this is how we ignore this reality and create a new one. And that's the invitation. That's how we create a different world. We are doing it already. So please acknowledge where you're doing it and what you're aware of, and know that you are really a very different creature. You are a very different creature, far more different than you realize when you wake up in the morning. And you might have moments of that throughout the day. But what if you use that sense of like the discrepancy that you see between you and the rest of the world? What if you started to see that as constantly an acknowledgement of the difference that you be, rather than how wrong you are? And, you know, some of you guys asked about kids and X-Men kids. And what I would say is use all of these conversations that we've had with children that you have or know that are X-Men. What would it be like if you were present with them, acknowledging the awareness of the future that they are aware of? And you don't have to say anything, you know? I mean, I have 2 X-Men teenagers, and I don't talk to them about this, but I do. The way that I be with them as beings is this acknowledgement of how aware they are, how brilliant they are, how much a gift they are to the world, how much a gift they are, like their being, you know, how much a gift that their being is. And then, you know, there's like how they show up and all of that, which is, to me, it's always part of that. But then, you know, I make choices as a parent accordingly to how they're showing up now. But it's also really based on this sense of like, I know that I'm, you know, the only person probably in their lives, like close to them, who's holding this 10,000 year vision of the future, 1,000-year, 500-year vision of the future. And I know that I'm like one of the only people, you know, there's a small and growing group of us that is willing to be that in the world too. But at this point, I'm no longer making myself wrong for it. It's like, yeah, let's fucking go. This is the world that I know is possible. This is the future that I know is possible. And that's a gift, and I'm a gift. And let's fucking go. So what do you know, my dear, sweet, amazing ex-creature friend? What do you know that nobody else knows, that that if you allowed yourself to know it, would change everything and create a far greater future, and is now the time and the space for you to just turn it up? That's what I'm asking for 2022, is turn it the fuck up times a godzillion. I am only just getting started. We are only just getting started. And there's so much miraculousness that's happening every single day. And we are only just beginning. So thank you guys so much for being here. We are on January 1st and 2nd, going to be deep diving into a 2-day X-Men class, disabilities or abilities. I cannot think of a better way to start the new year and to continue this conversation. Really going into some of these energies and these spaces and this awareness and how we function and how that's been made wrong and how we make ourselves wrong and how all of the brilliance that's underneath that, disabilities or abilities. You know, what if every single disability that you think you have or wrongness is your capacity, your brilliance, your ability? And how do we use that to truly create a greater future and a greater world that includes everything that we would like to have in our own lives? That's a huge part of it. And when the beauty is that when you give yourself access to these capacities, and you steep yourself in that world, you know, that conversation, what you end up being able to actualize in your own life is so miraculous and such a gift to the world. And it's been amazing for me to see over the years how much it's created in every area of my life. Like every area of my life has become greater the more I'm willing to be different and celebrate it and adore it and have gratitude for it. And there's still a lot of times and places where I judge myself, and I'm over that. You know, I'm sure I will judge myself again at least once, you know, but really it's a choice, and it's a choice now more than ever. So thank you for you. If this series was a gift, please, we're going to have it up on YouTube. So we'll, you know, the videos are all in the chat in the Heather Nichols Creations Telegram group. That link is heathernichols.com/Telegram. If you want to share it with your friends, it's open to everybody. And we will also put this as a series of playlist on YouTube. That'll be available on my website once we get it up there. Really just thank you so much, because you all, whether you were here live with me or not, or you watched later, or you're going to watch even in 5 years from now, you are a contribution. You were a contribution. You be a contribution to these conversations happening all over the place. And I'm just really grateful, because my life would be really so much less fun and more boring and like, just, I don't even want to think about how it would be without these conversations. So, and people like you that I get to play with and explore with, it's really an amazing gift. So hope to see you guys in the X-Men class, or we also have an X-Men in Business telecall starting in January, end of January. Generative Business Pods, which is going to be like an exploration of this 6 months with business. That starts February 1st. We have a Body Show Me, a really special Body Show Me class mid-January also, that is an exploration of what's possible with bodies and X-Men bodies. It's going to be part of writing my book. So lots of really cool stuff coming up in the new year, and hope to see you there. Thanks everybody so much. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Mwah. And let's go forth and create a different world. Bye for now.